Hey gang, welcome to Places to Go with Heather Gill. In this episode of People to Know, I have the extreme honor to talk with Genice Lee. Genice Lee, she's amazing. She runs this business called Harvest Estate and Appraisal Services. Genice, thank you so much for being on my show today.
Thank you for having me, Heather.
Absolutely. So I've got to say, in all my years of networking and meeting people, that I have not met anybody in your particular line of business. And I think what you do is very fascinating. Can you take a few minutes and talk to us about what you do with Harvest Estate Appraisal Services?
Well, with Harvest Estate and Appraisal Services, my goal is to help my clients make an informed decision. And so that typically is around understanding the value of their personal assets, things in the home, maybe things that belong to a business. Also, I think people are more familiar with decorative arts appraisers as far as it pertains to things they might see in a museum or even fine artwork.
So you're doing, so like, let's say grandmother passes away, right? And she's left everything to her kids and grandkids. So your service would center around what is the estate? Like, what is the worth of the estate? Am I thinking about that correctly?
The personal property is a portion of the estate. And so when you're talking about appraising, I think people are most familiar with real property, appraising a house, appraising a building.
Right.
When it comes to estates and the things in the home, yes, when someone passes away, oftentimes those who are the heirs to those things may not be as familiar with them or know the value of them. And at that point, I would get a phone call and people would want to understand what the value is so that they can decide what to keep or what to give away.
Right. I could see, fast forward another 20 years or so, all of those people in my generation, Beanie Babies were such a thing when we were kids. Like, I could always, kind of imagine fast forward to when I'm retiring. There's probably going to be some lady who's got like every Beanie Baby that was ever made. And she's probably got it in her attic and it's probably just sitting up there. And you're going to be the one coming in going, oh, yeah, this Beanie Baby was made in the 90s and it's worth $300. So that's kind of the I guess, an idea of what it is then, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think important thing that for people to understand is age doesn't necessarily equate with value. And so I look at two values, the monetary value, and then there's also sentimental value.
Case in point, my grandmother would use the kiln. There was a little kiln, ceramic little place in town, and she'd make all these little ceramic things and put them in the house and give them as gifts. And it was kind of a hobby and she loved it. And I inherited these little ceramic bunny rabbits that are really cute and really fun. And I mean, that's a total sentimental value. I have no doubt there's no street value for that, except if somebody loved bunnies. So like that's a sentimental value to me. And I can't place a price tag on that. And I bet you run into a lot of people that have those items passed down that have a lot of that sentimental value applied to them.
Yes. And when I meet with families, I encourage families to look at monetary value and sentimental value from the aspect of maintaining legacy. I think it's so important to maintain a legacy. So it may be something that grandmother made that has a story to it. That's a great story to be passed down. And so it may not be the $1 million item, but you want to keep it because of the story that is associated to grandmother and a part of her legacy.
No, for sure. No, I love that. I love that a lot. So tell me, what's the most interesting item that you've run across that you've had to appraise?
The most interesting item I think to date that I've appraised was a 14th century codex from Ethiopia.
Oh, wow. What does that even mean? Like, you say codex, and I know you're not talking about the camera. Like, codex. What is this exactly you speak of? Because I have to say I don't know if I understand.
Yeah, this object has a religious significance. It was from an Ethiopian monastery that was actually stolen during World War II and ended up in a university's collection that shall remain nameless because a lot of the work that I do is confidential.
All right.
But in working to evaluate the collection that belonged to this theology department of this school, it was discovered that this codex was a stolen piece, and the school and the organization in Ethiopia worked to repatriate that piece. And so that was really exciting for me to touch something that old and be a part of that history of it being returned to its rightful owners.
Right. No, that's pretty interesting. So this wasn't something in Grandma's attic again. This was something more. No. You got a phone call and they're like, we need an appraiser, like an actual appraiser to come out. So this was one of those kind of calls.
Yeah. It was, not your everyday thing, but I do often work a lot of times with family on everyday things. People think, because I don't have an antique or I don't have a Picasso, that it's not important to understand the value of the things in my home. But it's so important to have an understanding, because things come up that we don't want to think about. Things like fire and tornadoes, hurricanes, flooding, where it would be important to understand the value. And I'm sure that those who do insurance would agree with that, as a client, you don't want to be scrambling trying to figure that out because there's just too many other things going on. So if you can do it beforehand, that's the best time to do it.
So this brings up a good point. I know kind of like your tagline for your business is for the changing seasons in your life. And so, if let's use the family unit kind of as an idea here, maybe to talk about, because we both work in that space, right? You do the appraising, I help them with buying or selling homes and stuff. Like, when's a good time for them to consider getting an appraisal for something? Would you consider before, like, the passing, after the passing? Like, what would be like the best suggestion here? Is this even a good question to ask?
It's a great question. The tagline for the changing seasons in your life really addresses the fact that all of us at some point in our life have predominantly 4 seasons, and they can rotate in and out. We all have a spring, summer, and fall to our lives. A winter is often perceived perhaps when someone has passed away, and definitely it's better to do most things on the front end than on the back end. And so if you're able to assign value and even let people know who is to get what when you pass away, that saves a lot of anguish on the backside for those who are left to take care of the objects once you're gone. Another season, a spring season in your life may be buying a home. And then when you move, you want to understand what you have. I myself recently moved from Maryland to Texas and packed 121 boxes and moved to Texas. And when I got here, I had 119 of the 121 boxes. And so things get lost in transport. And understanding what you have and having a great inventory of it really will help you to recoup anything that is lost or possibly damaged. Okay. So those are just some examples of, some of the seasons in our life where you may want to look at having an appraisal. Summer season may be you're purchasing things, or you're adding to a collection, or you're buying artwork, and you may want maybe not an appraisal, but just a consultation to understand the market of that artist, to see if the art piece that you're looking at is a good deal. So those are some of the circumstances where I work with people.
Okay. No, I love it. That's some good advice. I think that's very solid advice, because it's human nature. We don't like to think about the end until much closer to what we feel like is the end. And I think that's where your services can come in extremely handy. I feel like your services would go really well with like an estate planner, like somebody who would do wills and trusts and such. So if you're doing that piece of it, you probably should use Genice as well, because it sounds like the two marry together, especially if you were a collector of something.
Yeah. There are collectors who are very astute. I mean, I'm working on a airplane collection right now from an estate. And my
Oh,
God,
an airplane? Like an actual, like, are they little ones or big ones?
yeah, just a huge collection
Oh,
of
wow.
airplanes. And so I joke with the organization that is getting these airplanes, boys with their toys. So it's a bunch of men that really enjoy this hobby. I'm not saying there aren't any women, but for the majority of this project, I've been talking to men. And then you have the girls with their toys, and maybe that would be the designer handbags. And so it's been quite eye-opening, just the cost of these toys. And some of these toys are as expensive as a piece of fine artwork. So it has been quite eye-opening for me to look at this small subsection of collectibles.
Wow, I think that's one of my bucket lists. Maybe I should collect airplanes. I think that sounds like a cool bucket list item now. Maybe I need to dream bigger in my life. I love it. That's very awesome.
If you want to jump into that arena, I'm well connected.
Right. Oh my God, for real. Well, let's transition into our bonus question. And the bonus question is, do you have a favorite holiday and why?
Do I have a favorite holiday? Wow. I celebrated a holiday that is one that I have not traditionally celebrated in the past, and that was Hanukkah. And my family did that this year, and it was a great opportunity to allow us to express our faith, allow us to everyone to actively pray together and be a part of the lighting the candles. And my daughter loved it because she got 8 gifts. She got to open a present every night. So she really enjoyed that.
Now, Hanukkah is a great holiday. My mother-in-law and father-in-law, they're Messianic Jewish, so they do celebrate those holidays. And yeah, it's fun. You do the 8 gifts and the dreidel and all the other little fun things. But that's fun. So that was the first year y'all done this?
Yes. So yeah, this was the first year, and we did some research, and we did it along with our church, which is it's a Christian denomination, but they do recognize Jewish holidays, and so we thought we'd try that this year.
Oh, I love that. So as of right now, that's your favorite holiday.
It was. It really was.
I love it. Awesome. I love that. That's great. That's great. Well, let's move into how people can get in touch with you, Genice. I've got your number and your email up on the screen. So if you have something that you need to have appraised, or you know somebody who's in that season of life where they need her services, or heck, maybe you need her services, you can reach her by her cell number here. It's 240-398-8490. Or you can shoot her an email at harvest4you@gmail.com. That's harvest, the number 4, YOU at Gmail. Genice, with that being said, do you have some words of wisdom you'd like to leave with us this day?
Words of wisdom. I think it is very important for people to get informed and educated. And so definitely when I think about appraising, it's important to learn about the process. So definitely call, ask questions, get those questions answered so that you can make an informed decision. I find that a lot of times people don't even know what the process looks like. And so just being able to answer questions helps them to decide what direction they want to move in with an appraisal or consultation on what they want to do with the object.
Right. Love it. I'm going to put your information back on the screen. Again, you can reach Genice using this method here on the screen. She's wonderful to work with, and she would do a really great job for you. So don't hesitate to reach out with those questions or items that you need appraised. Genice, I appreciate you so much being on my show today.
I thank you for having me. You're a mover and a shaker, and I appreciate you squeezing me in and letting me
absolutely. But cheers, and thanks again for being on my show. I've got places to go, more people to talk to, but I'll be talking to you soon.
All right. Thank you.